My darling philosophers, welcome to our daily devotional reading. I hope you had a wonderful day. If you have water handy, take a sip. And let's tonight return to the idea of drinking from the fountain of the living water. Drinking from the inexhaustible fount of being, as John likes to say. My John. As you feel the water in your mouth, pay attention to how extraordinary it is to have this life-sustaining liquid. So close at hand. We are definitely living in fortunate times, at least here in the Netherlands and in many places in the world, luckily, that we have life-giving water so close at hand. May that continue to be and spread to be all over the planet. And may that be a symbol of how readily available this life-giving water, the water of life, the water that will quench the deeper thirst, how close it really is to us. And how good it is to taste. Also, but not exclusively, through words. And what we're focusing on here at the Make-Believe Monastery, at least for a year, is the words of Plato, and trying to find some life-giving water in there. Tonight we are starting with a new dialogue. I would read it as Gorgias, but I watched the video of Joe. It becomes more difficult to keep track of what I need to link if I record ahead of time. I need to figure out, but I think I know what I'm going to do. With Sarah when she was here, and she pointed out that it sounds like Gorgias. So that's easy for me to remember. So we're starting with Gorgias tonight. Let's begin. Calicles, or however you weird English-speaking people will say it. The wise man, as the proverb says, is late for a fight, but not for a feast, a battle, but not. Apparently that's also Shakespeare. Socrates. And are we late for a feast? Calicles. Yes, and a delightful feast, For Gorgias has just been exhibiting to us many fine things. Socrates. It's not my fault, Callicles. Our friend Saraphon is to blame, for he would keep us loitering in the agora, the marketplace. Saraphon. Never mind, Socrates. The misfortune of which I have been the cause I will also repair. For Gorgias is a friend of mine, and I will make him give the exhibition again, either now or, if you prefer, at some other time. Callicles. What is the matter, Saraphon? Does Socrates want to hear Gorgias? Saraphon. Yes, that was our intention in coming. Callicles. Come into my house, then, for Gorgias is staying with me, and he shall exhibit to you. Socrates. Very good, Callicles, but will he answer our questions? Something completely different, apparently. For I want to hear from him what is the nature of his art, and what is it which he professes and teaches. He may, as you, Chaerephon, suggest, defer the exhibition to some other time. Callicles. There is nothing like asking him, Socrates, and indeed to answer questions is a part of his exhibition. For he was saying only just now that anyone in my house might put any question to him, and that he would answer. Socrates. Oh, how fortunate. Will you ask him, Saraphon? Saraphon. What shall I ask him? Socrates. Ask him who he is. Saraphon. What do you mean? I mean such a question as would elicit from him, if he had been a maker of shoes, that the answer that he is a cobbler. Do you understand? Saraphon. I understand, and will ask him. Tell me, Gorgias, is our friend Callicles right in saying that you undertake to answer any question which you are asked? So was the dude just standing there the whole time? Weird. Gorgias. Quite right, Saraphon. I was saying as much only just now, and I may add that many years have elapsed since anyone has asked me a new one. Saraphon. Then you must be very ready, Gorgias. I might say things that I shouldn't say later tonight. Gorgias. Of that, Saraphon, I will make trial. Polus. Yes, indeed. And if you like, Saraphon, you may make trial of me too, for I think that Gorgias, who has been talking a long time, is tired. Saraphon. And do you, Polus, think that you can answer better than Gorgias? Polus. What does that matter if I answer well enough for you? Saraphon. Oh, not at all. And you shall answer if you like. Polus. Ask. Saraphon. My question is this. If Gorgias had the skill of his brother Herodicus, I wonder if it's Herodicus. Probably not. Like Prodicus. Anyway, what ought we to call him? Ought he not to have the name which is given to his brother? Certainly. Saraphon. Then we should be right in calling him a physician. Yes. And if he had the skill of Aristophon, the son of Aglaphon, or his brother Polygnotos. What ought we to call him? Certainly a painter. But now what shall we call him? What is the art in which he is skilled? Polus. O Seraphon, there are many arts among mankind which are experimental and have their origin in experience. For experience makes the days of men to proceed according to art, and inexperience according to chance. And different persons in different ways are proficient in different arts. He reminds me of someone. And the best persons in the best arts. And our friend Gorgias is one of the best, and the art in which he is proficient is the noblest. Socrates. Polus has been taught how to make a capital speech, Gorgias, but he is not fulfilling the promise which he made to Seraphon. Gorgias. What do you mean, Socrates? Socrates. I mean that he has not exactly answered the question which he was asked. Gorgias. Then why not ask him yourself? Socrates. But I would much rather ask you, if you are disposed to answer, for I see from the few words which Polus had uttered that he has attended more to the art which is called rhetoric than to dialectic. Polus. What makes you say so, Socrates? Socrates. Because Polus, when Seraphon asked you what was the art that Gorgias knows, you praised it as if you were answering someone who found fault with it. But you never said what the art was. Polus. Why, did I not say that it was the noblest of arts? Socrates. Yes, indeed, but that was no answer to the question. Nobody asked what was the quality, but what was the nature of the art, and by what name we were to describe Gorgias. And I would still beg you briefly and clearly, if you answered Seraphon when he asked you at first, to say what this art is, and what we ought to call Gorgias, beside Gorgias. Or rather, Gorgias, let me turn to you and ask the same question. What are we to call you, and what is the art which you profess? Gorgias. Rhetoric, Socrates, is my art. The other translation as oratory, the Greek is rhetoric. Tes rhetorikes. Rhetorikes. Socrates. Then I'm to call you a rhetorician. Gorgias. Yes, Socrates. And a good one too, if you would call me that which in Homeric language I boast myself to be. Socrates. I should wish to do so. Then pray do. Socrates. And are we to say that you are able to make other men rhetoricians? Gorgias. Yes, that is exactly what I profess to make them, not only in Athens, but in all places. Socrates. And will you continue to ask and answer questions, Gorgias, as we are at present doing, and reserve for another occasion the longer mode of speech which Polus was attempting? Will you keep your promise and answer shortly the questions which are asked of you? Gorgias. Some answers, Socrates, are of necessity longer, but I will do my best to make them as short as possible, for a part of my profession is that I can be as short as anyone. Socrates. That is what is wanted, Gorgias. Exhibit the shorter method now and the longer one at some other time. Gorgias. Well, I will. And you will certainly say that you never heard a man use fewer words. Socrates. Very good then, as you profess to be a rhetorician and a maker of rhetoricians, let me ask you, with what is rhetoric concerned? I might ask you what is weaving concerned, and you would reply, would you not, with the making of garments? Gorgias. Yes. Socrates. And music is concerned with the composition of melodies? Gorgias. Yes. Socrates. By Hera, Gorgias, I admire the surpassing brevity of your answers. Gorgias. Yes, Socrates. I do think myself good at that. Socrates. I am glad to hear it. Answer me in like manner about rhetoric. With what is rhetoric concerned? Gorgias. With discourse. Discourse. Speeches, the other one says. Socrates. What sort of discourse, Gorgias? Such discourse as would teach the sick under what treatment they might get well. Gorgias. No. Socrates. Then rhetoric does not treat all kinds of discourse. Gorgias. Certainly not. Socrates. And yet rhetoric makes men able to speak. Gorgias. Yes. Socrates. And to understand that about which they speak. The other translation has to be wise in what they're speaking about. Gorgias, of course. Socrates. But does not the art of medicine, when we were just now mentioning, also make men able to understand and speak about the sick? Certainly. Then medicine also treats of discourse? Yes. Of discourse concerning diseases? Just so. And does not gymnastics also treat of discourse concerning the good or evil conditions of the body? Very true. And the same, Gorgias, is true of the other arts. All of them treat of discourse concerning the subjects with which they severally have to do. Clearly. Socrates. Then why, if you call rhetoric the art which treats with discourse, and all the other arts treat of discourse, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, do you not call them arts of rhetoric? Gorgias. Because, Socrates, the knowledge of the other arts has only to do with some sort of external action, as of the hand. But there is no such action of the hand in rhetoric, which works and takes effect only through the medium of discourse. And therefore I am justified in saying that rhetoric treats of discourse. Socrates. I am not sure whether I entirely understand you, but I dare say I shall soon know better. Please to answer me a question. You would allow that they are arts? Yes. As Socrates, as to the arts generally, they are for the most part concerned with doing and require little or no speaking. In painting, in statuary, and many other arts, the work may proceed in silence. And of such arts, I suppose you would say that they do not come within the province of rhetoric. Gorgias. You perfectly conceive my meaning, Socrates. Socrates. But there are other arts which works wholly through the medium of language and require either no action or very little, as for example the art of arithmetic or calculation, of geometry, and of playing draughts. In some of these, speech is pretty nearly coextensive with action, but in most of them the verbal element is greater. They depend wholly on words for their efficiency and power. And I take your meaning to be that rhetoric is an art of this latter sort. Efficacy and power, sorry, not efficiency. Exactly, Socrates, and yet I do not believe that you really mean to call any of these arts rhetoric, although the precise expression which you used was that rhetoric is an art which works and takes effect only through the medium of discourse. And an adversary who wished to be captious might say, and so, Gorgias, you call arithmetic rhetoric. But I do not think that you really call arithmetic rhetoric any more than geometry would be so called by you. Gorgias, you are quite right, Socrates, in your apprehension of my meaning. Thus far our scripture of the day. Oh, I can say thus far our reading. Yeah, that would be better. Some more water. I think it's very, well, at a certain point Socrates asks, and do you teach people also, when you make them rhetoricians, to understand that about which they speak? And he says, of course, and I think that is the wrong answer. It had to be clarified more, because I think anyone who works will know that just because you're good at something doesn't mean necessarily that you can communicate it well. And just because you can communicate something well doesn't mean you necessarily understand it. It is, I would say, the ideal to learn through communication. That is why I think teaching is indeed an extraordinary profession. I find that's how you learn best, by teaching others, because you need to be able to wrestle with your subject to such an extent that you can make it simple enough to express. So rhetoric could be used to enhance understanding. But teaching someone the art of rhetoric, unless they have, it could be that their understanding of rhetoric was completely different. teaching someone the art of rhetoric, at least so I was taught, that has nothing to do with teaching them also the subject matter. Maybe that changed through the years, I don't know. Is philosophy a profession that depends wholly on words for its efficacy and power? I fear that that might have become the case, and that is exactly maybe why philosophy as a way of life has been lost, and why Paul said there's no philosophers. Because we depend too much on words to communicate our philosophy, our stance in life, our point of view, rather than living it. And words, though beautiful, and I'm a fan. I am devoted to words, to the logos. It's not sufficient. It leaves an empty space. It does not fill that need for belonging. Mere words. Some answers are of necessity longer. I like that because I think it's very true. And even in, was it Protagoras? I can't remember. No, it was in Euthydemus, where Socrates refused qualifying words when it would have made for a much better discussion if he were allowed to say, yes, the things that I know are that, blah, 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 instead of, yes, I know, something like that. So some answers are indeed by necessity longer, but I still think it is good if you can aim at, I don't know what the right word would be for it. Aim at being understandable, but there's a better word, but I feel that there's a better word, but I don't know it. Being not lucid. Clear, maybe. I feel there's still a better word, but I don't know it. Ask him who he is. Interesting that Socrates here simply means the profession. Ask him what his profession is. Ask him who he is. In a certain way, there's something nostalgically sweet almost about identifying so deeply with your profession, because probably it has been in your family for generations. And it's in your blood. It's your daily existence. It really is who you are. It's something indeed that our society, most of us at least, struggle with. It's something I often hear when meeting people, that they don't identify with their profession. And maybe that is actually sad. That we have to earn a living by living a life that we cannot identify with. Not to sound too Marxist, I don't know. I literally got a headache from reading Das Kapital. It was one of the few books those days that I didn't finish. My head just started hurting too much. I don't know if I should tell the story. Yes. Maybe it fits into our grander quest for what is truth, our pursuit of truth. Once upon a time, in a galaxy far, far away, but this one actually, but I attended I don't know what it's called, a lecture at the Stoa. I wonder if they still have their YouTube channel. If Peter still has his YouTube channel. Peter Lemberg. I don't think I've referred to him before. He's not Mr. Rochester, though. I've called Mr. Rochester Peter. He's not called that. And there was a man who apparently is enlightened. He claims to be enlightened. Now, darlings, I do think that the human species is an enlightened species. So I think you are also enlightened. We're all enlightened. That is like the Promethean gift, enlightenment. I don't know of any type of special enlightenment like the Buddha, which is actually awakened, the awakened one. So maybe we're all enlightened but asleep. But he claimed to be awake as well, I think. And he also claims that no one can ask him a worthy question, which of course made everyone very awkward when the time for Q&A came. And everyone was quiet. And then he called on someone to ask a question. And that someone was me. Luckily, I have thought of a question to ask him. I asked him what's up with the moon. And he looked a bit unimpressed and said, yeah, because the moon is up, blah, blah, blah. And I could see he came to his computer because he had power to silence us somehow in the call. And I said no. It was one of the times that I said no with authority. And I said, I can't remember what exactly I said, but it's something like, I'm serious. She's been acting strangely lately. What's up with the moon? And it so happened to be that I just shortly before that had a strange experience with the moon. So much so that when I went to dinner with my ex-husband, I told him about that YouTube thing that I tried to click on a song, but Alex appeared. Then I clicked on the song again and it was still Alex. And it was not just like a lingering, like I could play the whole video. I took pictures of different places in the video. So I thought that was pretty weird. But he said, no, the moon thing is... Well, his exact words was, I asked him, do you think it's weird? He's like, well, yes, but it's you. And I said, yeah, but... And he said, no, I still think the moon thing is weird. So I did experience something weird with the moon, so I asked that. And then he said he was covered in complete chills. So apparently I did manage to ask the right question. I didn't like him very much, though. Are we special? Tonight, More Alex posted, I think it's Brian Greene. Is there intelligence behind the universe? What I see Brian's answer to be, and what I think is true, because that kind of connects with the whole thing that, like, yes, but then we discovered this, then we discovered... Every time we discover the earth is not the center of everything, it's the thing that we need to deal with is the fact that we're not special. Okay, but we're still, like, pretty amazing, like, compared to the other rocks circling the sun. Yeah, but our solar system is not really that important. Oh man, there goes our self-worth again, because we're not the center of the universe. We're not special. And I do think it's very likely that there are a multiverse. And that we therefore could think, oh man, we're not that special. But what I hear in Brian's words is that humanity has always thought we're special because God, something bigger, something out there, is paying attention to us, is seeing us. We are being observed. We are being loved, taken care of. It's for us. That's what we think makes us special. But that's not what makes us special. And if we turn it around, then we grow in being special. Actually, the bigger reality grows, the more there is beyond this rock upon which we find ourselves. Because it's not about it's not about who sees us, but about who we see. It's about who we pay attention to, what we pay attention to. And we are capable of that. It's so extraordinary. We are capable of paying attention to this multiverse, to this huge, I don't even know what to call it, thing, no. Being maybe closer, this vastness. We are capable of paying attention to this vastness. And that is what makes us special. And that is what he says, basically. About we being able to do calculations and stuff and things like that. So it's not from the outside in, but from the inside out, where our worth is to be found. But is there intelligence behind the universe? I want to say almost that yesterday, as of time of recordings video, Jesus on slavery, I think, almost wants to give the point to divinity. Because the picture on the thumbnail has a man wearing a white scarf around his waist. And I haven't spoken about that. Well, I have spoke about that. I did speak about that before the post, but I didn't post it before the post. So that is a coincidence. And yes, sure, all these small coincidences can be shrugged off easily, but they do add up. And the thing is, I've seen many coincidences. Like, is there intelligence behind the universe? I don't know. That, as I said, the interconnectedness of all things, but I am more used to the divine or the one or the all or the interconnectedness of all, speaking through people without the people even realizing it, than the opposite. That's my experience. So when I see something like that, I'm like, well, maybe I have to give that to the divine. One point to the divine. And then I'm just gonna have to hope that it's not that Jesus is trying to tell me that he's gonna sell me to Jimmy down the street. I'm not really fond of Jimmy down the street, so I'd rather not be his, if that's okay with Jesus. You know, I don't know how much say I have in this. Maybe there's a divine and human element in everything. Maybe what I was saying earlier, of us being the observers, us being the ones seeing that it's from inside and not from outside. Maybe that is me also saying, without realizing it, that the human and divine intervention, visibility, is always the same. It's always one. I don't know, man. Strange. It's strange. I have this book with me. I'm not really going to read much from it because it is sacred. And I'm reading and rereading and rereading so it's going to be a while. But I wanted to show this, and I was like, why? But then, just before I recorded, the amount of likes on Is There Intelligence Behind the Universe was 44. And it was 1515. So that this is from the post office at Oxford when I was there with another friend. I so missed Rebecca that I had to send her a postcard. And 44 is my, well, it's a number that's significant to me. So I asked the guy behind the counter if I could keep it. He frowned a bit, but I'm sure he seemed weirder. Didn't read much today. I was in the office. Hopefully tomorrow. Sophia herself will guide our way.